Welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be exploring a blog post on TATANKA.site,
Okay.
and it's a reflection on a podcast episode called The Real Reason Why Relationships Hurt. And it's made me think about how our past experiences really affect our love lives, even if we don't realize it, you know?
Yeah, it's fascinating how this blogger kind of adds another layer to the original podcast episode.
Right,
They
right.
really go into the main ideas and give their own perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one idea I found really interesting is this concept of a blueprint for love that we develop based on our childhood homes.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean like the physical house, but the whole emotional environment of our childhood.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? What are the psychological factors?
Well, I think it goes back to how our brains develop.
Okay.
As children, we're always observing and absorbing information about the world, especially when it comes to relationships. Our parents or caregivers, they become our first models for love and intimacy. And these early experiences really shape our expectations and beliefs about how relationships work.
So even if we don't consciously remember those specific events,
Exactly.
those patterns of interaction from our childhood
Yeah.
are still there in our subconscious.
Yeah. They kind of become ingrained in us. You can almost think of it like a software program.
Okay.
It's running in the background and it's influencing our choices without us even being aware of it.
Wow. So we have this blueprint from childhood,
Yeah.
but then the blog post talks about this paradox of attraction. Why are we often drawn to partners who trigger those same painful dynamics from our past? Shouldn't we be running away from that?
You would think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not about intentionally seeking out pain. It's more like a subconscious yearning for what feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy.
Okay.
For example, let's say someone grew up in a home where affection was rarely expressed. They might find themselves drawn to partners who are emotionally distant.
Because that distance feels familiar to them?
Yeah, exactly. It feels comfortable in a weird way.
Like it's what they know.
Exactly. It's their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Even though it might not be good for them.
So it's counterintuitive, but our brains actually crave familiarity,
Yeah.
even if it's not good for us. So is there a way to break free from that pull?
That's the big question.
Yeah. When it's leading us to heartbreak over and over.
That's right.
That's where the blog post highlights these two exercises from the podcast episode
Yeah.
that help you uncover your subconscious definition of love.
Exactly.
The first one involves taking those negative feelings associated with your childhood home
Okay.
and replacing the word home with love.
Interesting.
So if you felt neglected at home, the phrase would become, I feel neglected by love.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
It's intense,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
But I could see how it would bring those hidden beliefs to the surface.
For sure. It forces your subconscious to confront those beliefs that are connected to love.
What's the psychology behind that word substitution?
Our brains are wired to make associations.
Okay.
So by replacing home with love,
Yeah.
you're connecting your past experiences with your current relationship patterns.
Okay. And the second exercise focuses on past relationships,
Yeah.
right? So tell me about that one.
So for this one, you think about all your past partners.
Okay.
And you make a list of the negative traits or patterns you noticed in those relationships. You look for any recurring themes, and then you replace those negative traits with the word love.
Okay. So if you've had partners who had trouble communicating,
Yeah,
the phrase might become love struggles with communication.
that's a good example. Yeah. The blogger who wrote this post actually tried this exercise themselves,
Okay.
and they said that words like pressure and distance kept coming up.
Really?
Yeah, which was a big realization for them.
Wow. I can see how these exercises could really open your eyes,
Yeah,
even if it's a little uncomfortable. It's like looking in a mirror
that's a good way to put it.
and seeing these patterns reflected back at you. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was there.
It can be surprising, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're like holding up a mirror to your soul almost to
Exactly.
see what's really going on.
It's pretty deep stuff.
Yeah.
These exercises sound really powerful,
Yeah.
you know, for bringing those hidden beliefs to the surface.
Yeah, definitely.
But what happens next? Once we've identified those patterns, how do we actually change them?
That's the tricky part. It takes work.
Right.
It's like you've been driving on autopilot for years,
Okay.
and now you're trying to learn how to drive manually.
That's a good analogy. It sounds challenging.
It can be,
Yeah.
but that's what personal growth is all about.
Right.
Becoming more aware of what's going on in our subconscious,
Right.
and then making conscious choices to change things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some ways we can do that inner work?
Well, therapy is a great option.
Okay.
A good therapist can be like a guide on that journey. They can
Mm.
help you unpack those beliefs
Right.
and develop healthier ways of coping.
It's like having a co-pilot,
Exactly.
someone to help you navigate those tricky parts.
Yeah. And they provide a safe space for you to explore those feelings.
But it's not just about therapy.
Right.
No. There are other things you can do too.
Like what?
The blog post mentions journaling, meditation,
Uh-huh.
even just talking to friends and family.
Mm.
It's about finding what works for you,
Right.
building your own personal toolkit.
So journaling can help you process those emotions.
Yeah.
And identify patterns.
Exactly.
And meditation can help with self-awareness.
Yeah, it can help you regulate your emotions.
Yeah. And sometimes just talking to someone you trust
Mm-hmm.
can give you some perspective.
Exactly. It's like creating a support system for your own growth.
It's like you're not alone in this journey.
Right.
There are people and tools to help you.
And remember, it's a process. It
Mm.
takes time and patience.
You don't change overnight.
No.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be uncomfortable sometimes.
To challenge those old patterns.
Exactly. And step into a new way of relating to yourself and others. That reminds me of something else from the blog post.
Okay. What is it?
The idea that love is a conscious choice,
That's a powerful concept.
not just a feeling.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It feels empowering. You know,
Mhm.
it means we're not just victims of our past
Right.
or slaves to our feelings.
We have more control than we think.
So we can actually choose partners who align with the kind of love we want.
Exactly. Instead of falling into those old familiar patterns.
That's amazing. But how do we actually make those conscious choices
Right.
when so much of what drives us is happening in our subconscious?
That's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay.
By becoming aware of those patterns, we can start to question them.
Okay.
We can ask ourselves if those beliefs are actually true.
Right. Are they serving us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or are they just leftovers from our past?
It's like you're carrying around these old beliefs
Yeah.
without ever stopping to think if they're actually what we want.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We inherit beliefs from our families
Right.
and from society
And we just accept them as truth.
until we start to question them.
So the more we bring those beliefs into our conscious awareness,
Yeah,
the more freedom we have to choose something different.
exactly. It's about reclaiming our power to create the kind of love we want.
It's like we can rewrite our own love stories.
That's beautiful. I like that.
And that brings us to the question the blogger poses at the end.
Okay.
What's that? If our childhood home becomes our initial model for love,
Right.
how can we redefine that model to create more positive and loving relationships?
It's a great question. It really makes you think.
It does. What stands out to you from all of this?
For me, it's the idea of taking responsibility for our own patterns. For a long time, I felt like I was just at the mercy of my emotions.
Yeah.
But now I realize I have more agency than I thought.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
What's shifted for you?
I think it's the realization that awareness is the first step. By understanding how my past is affecting me now,
Yeah.
I can start making different choices.
It can be scary to face those patterns.
Yeah, definitely. But it's also exciting to think about creating something new.
Yeah.
It's like we were given this blueprint, but we can change it. You know?
Exactly. We don't have to just blindly follow it.
We can take those initial ideas
Yeah.
and add in the things we really want.
It's like we're the architects of our own relationships.
I love that analogy. And it shows that even though our past shapes us, it doesn't have to define us.
Right. We have the
But
power to
there's
choose.
What we keep and what we let go of.
Exactly.
You know what else I was thinking about?
What's that?
This conversation isn't just about romantic relationships.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
It applies to all kinds of relationships.
It does. Like with our families.
Yeah. Friends, even colleagues.
Absolutely. The same principles apply.
So if we understand those patterns,
Yeah,
we can create healthier connections
for sure.
in every part of our lives.
That's all connected.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I found really interesting in the blog post.
Was how much the author's story resonated with people.
Oh, yeah. The comment section was full of people relating to her experience.
It's like we all have those hidden scripts,
Yeah, you do.
but we think we're the only ones.
Right. Like it's our little secret.
Yeah. But when someone shares their story, it makes us feel less alone.
Exactly. Like we're all in this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of comforting in a way.
It is. It's like, okay, I'm not the only one who struggles with this.
And that brings us back to the main point of this deep dive.
How's that?
Empowerment.
Mm.
We have more control over our love lives than we think.
Yeah. We might not be able to change the past,
Nope.
but we can choose how we respond to it.
Right.
We can rewrite those old scripts
Yes, we can create new blueprints.
and build relationships that really reflect who we are.
That's what it's all about.
So to wrap things up,
Mm-hmm.
what's one thing you'll take away from this conversation?
Well, I think I'm going to try that word substitution exercise.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. I want to see what I discover about myself.
It can be really eye-opening.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a reminder that self-discovery is a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly. There's always more to learn and explore.
And more love to create.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
It has. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into love and relationships.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for being here with us today.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope this conversation has inspired you
Yeah.
to create more conscious and fulfilling relationships.
In your own lives.
Thanks again for listening.